Next video. Greatest art heist in history.
It's a hot summer's evening in Paris. For weeks, a record-breaking heat wave has been
1911, bro. Greatest art heist in history. My ass. You could have just walked up to a painting and took it. That for probably hanging on a wall in a building. Back then, 1911, dude. You think they had like locks on paintings? Now the Mona Lisa's behind bulletproof, fireproof glass. Like you could shoot a rocket at that thing and it wouldn't blow up. Then it was probably just in a building, and you just went, and then did one of those robber tiptoes in those like old videos. You know those Halloween outfits of a robber where it's just white and black, and they're wearing like goggles, and they're like.
Streets empty and the Louvre quieter than ever. No one dares to go outside, but for one man, it's time to strike. Throughout the night, he pulls off the heist of the century, plucking the Mona Lisa from the Louvre and disappearing into the city.
He just put a blanket over it. The greatest heist in history. Right around closing, he walked in and just took it off the wall, threw a blanket over it, and walked out with it on his shoulder. It's the greatest robbery I've ever seen.
Set off a worldwide investigation, leading French police down a 2-year rabbit hole of false leads and famous arrests before...
How would you even sell the Mona Lisa? If you stole the Mona Lisa and say you didn't get caught, who the fuck would buy it? Because the second they find it, they're just going to take it from that guy. Black market? Who the fuck has enough money to buy the Mona Lisa? Is the Mona Lisa worth like $1 billion?
A mysterious letter eventually gave the thief away. We modeled the entire thing to show you how a single man stole the Mona Lisa, how he almost got away with it, and the elaborate plan behind the heist that was eventually revealed decades later. As the sun went down that Sunday evening, the last few tourists were trickling out of the Louvre. But just before it closed, a man entered the museum dressed in the Louvre's...
During close? No way, dude. Oh my God, he's just gonna walk in and take it. Is that gonna be the robbery?
The Louvre's official white uniform.
Oh
Blending in as an employee, he quickly found his way to a small storage closet, squeezed his way in, and waited out the entire night.
Walmart 24-hour challenge. Merch is back yet again. New theme this time. Amor fati, a phrase, Latin phrase coined by Friedrich Nietzsche, my most favorite philosopher. And it means love of fate or love of one's fate, kind of accepting in an enthusiastic mindset all of the things that have happened in your life and moving forward in a positive way as it has crafted the person that you are today. Here's another design, American tradition. Heart on fire, Amor fati, cherubs, my favorite one, but we also have got a bunch of, sweatpants with very popping text so people will read it. We've got more sweatpants here, another shirt. We got a bunch of designs. JoeBartoloCstore.com. I'm trying to get this out in one take. I feel like I'm going to pass out right now. Check it out. A lot of them sell out quickly. We're trying to have a higher supply this time, but still... Link in description, JoeBartoloCstore.com. We do not have tank tops this time, but we try to switch up the clothing design that we offer every time, and as well as the theme. I like having a philosophical theme behind all of the merch that I drop. So check it out. JoeBartoloCstore.com. Let's get back into the video. Thanks. Bye.
The Louvre was closed the next day, so very few employees were going to be patrolling the museum. At precisely 7:15 the next morning, the thief emerged into an almost empty Louvre. With no one in sight, he quickly made his way into the Salon Carré, and there it was. At the time, the Mona Lisa...
The Mona Lisa was that expensive then? I mean, he's probably going to say, but I feel like there was probably more popular paintings in 1911.
At the time, the Mona Lisa didn't have its own room, and it wasn't nearly as famous as it is today. But the thief was about to change that.
Why? Is that why the Mona Lisa's that big now? I thought it was just big because it's a nice painting. Like, what made him want to steal this one comparable to any others?
With no one in sight, he pulled the painting off its metal pins and carried it to a nearby stairwell.
Oh my God. Imagine he fucking trips on the stairwell. You ever do that where you like try to catch a step, but you didn't put too much of your foot on it, so you fucking slide off? He's like walking. He's like, all right, I've almost gotten away with it. On the third step, trips. The fucking painting just drills into the fucking stairs and snaps. I would just walk out.
Using a screwdriver, he managed to remove the painting from its protective frame before covering it in a white sheet and heading straight for the nearest exit. But as he reached for the door, it was locked. At that exact moment, a plumber working for the Louvre appeared out of nowhere. He assumed that the man was a Louvre employee, and so he helped him open the door. And just like that, the thief disappeared into the city with the Mona Lisa under his arms. The whole heist was over in just a matter of minutes, but it would take another 28 hours before anyone realized the painting was really gone. That week,
Until what? Like mid the next day? They're like, where's the Mona Lisa?
photographers had been going through the museum and taking the paintings to be officially photographed, so blank spaces on the wall were completely normal. But when the photographers showed up the next morning without the Mona Lisa, it became clear that something was extremely wrong. The Mona Lisa was officially missing. The police were called.
I mean, I would have assumed they would have like drilled that shit into the wall. Even in 1911. If it's that valuable of a painting, they didn't have like any sort of like safekeeping for it. It was just hanging like a fucking house painting.
And a team of detectives descended
Like anybody could have just you could have just hit it with a hammer and broken the fucking painting.
on the museum. France closed its borders and stationed tanks around the Louvre. Just kidding. These tanks weren't used, but they can be used.
Oh, no way. War Thunder? Wow.
When the Louvre announced that one of its prized possessions had disappeared, it sent shockwaves all around the world. And the question was, where did it go? All the police had found was the wooden picture frame and a fingerprint left behind by the thief. To get the investigation going, local newspapers started offering a reward of $250,000 for
Then? How much is that now? That'd be $8 million now.
any information that would lead them to
Any information? I'd be like, yeah, I saw a guy the other night. All right, what was he doing? No, he's walking suspiciously. I think he had a fish in his hand. I don't know. I think that guy just might have been up to something. I don't know if that's useful.
the painting. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of people sent letters and showed up to police stations with all kinds of information.
So I'm going to say, I can't do a French accent. Oh, I didn't know. I'm going to immediately go like Looney Tunes. It would be bad.
Placing the Mona Lisa all over the world. 2 separate witnesses recalled seeing a man leaving the Louvre with a bulky object, but the descriptions of the man were completely different. One person claimed that the Mona Lisa was on a freight train heading through Belgium, and another claimed that the painting was on a ship which had already set sail for America.
Damn, imagine if that ship sunk, though.
But perhaps the most promising suspect was the famous artist, Pablo Picasso. A secretary who
That's what Picasso looked like? I don't know. I hear about so many of these artists, and I never actually, like, look up who they are. I also just immediately assumed that all artists were alive, like, 2,000 years ago. I didn't know Pablo Picasso was alive in 1911. Now, that's my American lack of historical knowledge. If you told me when was Pablo Picasso alive, I probably would have gone, I don't know, maybe like 1360. I probably would go, I don't know, a long time ago.
A secretary who knew Picasso wrote to the police and admitted that he had stolen several Iberian statues from the Louvre. He claimed to have sold these statues to Picasso, who went on to use them in one of his paintings. It seemed unlikely, but after checking the serial number on the statues, the Louvre confirmed that they really were from the museum. Picasso was arrested and taken in for questioning. Meanwhile, the police turned their attention to another famous suspect, American banker and art collector J.P. Morgan.
J.P. Morgan from Morgan no, not Morgan & Morgan. What is J.P. Morgan famous for? I love learning about that oil baron time because the wealth distribution today is a lot more drastic from like, you know, the top of the line billionaires versus like very poor people. But the amount of billionaires then were so far and few between that being like John D. Rockefeller, like you were so unfathomably rich comparable to anyone else in your time. Like if you're Elon Musk, there's a bunch of guys that are the same, you know, wealth as you. The best way that it's describable is people in that time, while, you know, you can make the argument that there were no ethical billionaires in that time still existed in their society. They had a residency, right? Like John D. Rockefeller probably lived in what state did he live in? He probably like primarily resided, Cleveland, Ohio. And then he started doing oil refining. But he still lived in his area. Billionaires today don't self-identify as being a part of a country. They're like world moguls. Billionaires today hang out with other billionaires, and they just exist.
At the time, art forgery was a big business, and paintings were often being forged and sold to naive millionaires in America. According to the claim, Morgan had commissioned the heist, and the painting was now on its way to him. Police in America stopped and searched a boat pulling into New York, but there was no Mona Lisa on board. Theories kept coming in from all over the world, but after 2 years of search,
I'd just start throwing out random conspiracies, dude. You throw out 500 duds, one of them's gonna hit.
The location of the Mona
One of them's gotta be like, hey, that's pretty close.
Lisa was still a complete mystery. As it turned out, the Mona Lisa hadn't gone far at all, and it was sitting in an apartment just 2 miles from the Louvre. This was the apartment of Vincenzo Perugia, a 29-year-old Italian who used to work at the Louvre as a handyman. He knew
I wish I had a mustache like that so I could go like this. You ever see those videos where it's like today they go like, and then they twist it?
A 29-year-old Italian who used to work at the Louvre as a handyman. He knew every weakness of the Louvre.
Grow hair on your head first?
He knew that it was closed on Mondays. He knew about the photographers. And it was him who had made the Mona Lisa's protective case, which he dismantled so easily during the heist. After leaving the Louvre, he hid the painting in a trunk with a false floor, which he had made himself. But how did he get away with it for so long? Amazingly, Perugia already had a criminal record, and his fingerprints were
But who the fuck is he going to sell it to?
already in the system. But only his right-hand fingerprints were in the system, and the one on the picture frame was a left-hand print, and so a match was never found. During the investigation, police had visited Perugia's apartment twice, but never found anything. Little did they know that the Mona Lisa was hiding right under their noses. Perugia had pulled off a stupidly simple heist, and it seemed like he would get away with it. But after 2 years holding the painting hostage, he started to get impatient. He wrote an anonymous letter to an art dealer in Florence, the city where Da Vinci painted the masterpiece. In the letter, he claimed
I feel like, oh my God, back then you wouldn't be able to find anybody.
to have the Mona Lisa in his possession and said he wanted to return
Finding dealers then, though? Oh,
it
fuck
back
off.
to its home. He signed the letter with the name Leonardo and took the next train to Florence. The art dealer and his associate agreed to meet Perugia in his hotel room to authenticate the painting. With the doors locked, Perugia opened up the trunk, and to their surprise, it really was the Mona Lisa. In order to further authenticate the painting, the art dealers took it back to their studio,
What? Why are you letting them take it, bro? What? You didn't get any money? Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. What if they just rob your ass?
assuring Perugia that he would be rewarded for bringing it back to Italy. But just an hour later, the police showed up at his door and arrested him. Perugia ended up spending just 7 months in prison and died just 10 years later. Although the search for the Mona Lisa was over, the truth behind what really happened seemed to have gone to the grave. But in 1932, a story was published that revealed a much more elaborate plan behind the heist. Written by Carl Decker, he claimed to know the man who was really behind the heist, a man named Eduardo de Valfierno, an expert in art forgery. He had come up with a grand plan to sell not 1, but 6 perfect copies of
Oh my God, because the Mona Lisa's gone. So you could just be selling that fake ass copies to other really rich people because they're like, well, yeah, this does look like it.
the Mona Lisa to 6 unsuspecting millionaires lined up in America. He commissioned a talented French painter to make the copies and shipped them off to America and put them into storage. In order for them to believe they were really getting their hands on the Mona Lisa, the real one had to go missing, and so he contracted Perugia to pull off the heist. When news spread
And
that
then
the
he got caught on purpose.
Mona Lisa had gone missing, the paintings were sold to their buyers, and the 3 involved ran off with the equivalent of $90 million.
Oh my God, that's so fucking smart. Never mind. I thought this was the dumbest art heist in history because he just walked in and sold it. Dude, it was a fucking scheme behind a scheme.
And now, time for the Primal
What?
Space giveaway. The winner of the
Wait, he'd be giving away Lego sets?
previous giveaway is Josh. Congrats.
Okay. I can't fall for that. All right. He'd be giving away Lego sets?